I'm back on my Digimon Frontier kick, and Conspiracy Karn is out in full force. I've done a short about this before, but I'm ready to talk about it for 8+ minutes. I think the Death Generals from Digimon Xros Wars were intended in some way to be connected to the spirits of Digimon Frontier. And on today's video, I'm gonna go full Pepe Sylvia to prove it. This video is sponsored by Buyee. Sign up for Buyee with my link in the description down below for a free 10% off coupon that you can use site-wide. Stick around to the end of the video for more details, and thank you to Buyee for sponsoring this video. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX, and welcome back to Karn Ranting about Digimon. So I just wanted to talk about something more informal for a little while now. I like when I get to just cook a little bit in videos and just kind of go a little bit off script. And I've been thinking a lot about the Death Generals from Xros Wars recently. When I did my Frontier Evolution Lines video, 10 Ancient Warriors Evolution Lines is coming soon. It really took a lot not to include all of the Death Generals in the Evolution Lines for the Frontier Spirits. Now, to be clear, to catch you up if you're not a fan of Xros Wars, the Death Generals are Neo-Vamdamon or Neo-Myotismon, Dorbikmon, Splashmon, Zamielmon, Olegmon, Gravimon, and Apollomon. And each of the Death Generals is associated with an element. Some of them are pretty straightforward. Dorbikmon is fire, Splashmon is water, Neo-Vamdamon is the moon, which isn't an element, but I'll get to Neo-Vamdamon. The first two really make me think about this connection were Splashmon and Zamielmon, and Splashmon is definitely the leader of this theory, not of the group, because Splashmon has a mode change. He goes from the very humanoid Splashmon to the very beastly Splashmon Darkness mode. And Frontier Spirits have a human spirit and a beast spirit. Splashmon to me really feels like a male take on the water spirits. Like, what if the male Digidestined was initially paired up with the water spirit, not like how Zoe gets the water spirit later on. Zamielmon also just feels very connected to a couple of different spirits. Visually, I think it resembles the most Grottemon, but then it has obviously the wood element, making it feel super connected to Arbamon and Patron, and its green coloration even kind of matches up a little bit to Mercurymon, though that could just be because it's green. And then if we start analyzing the elements, the archetypes each of these Death Generals are lined up with, we start to see some interesting correlation. Neo-Vamdamon's element is the moon. It is known as Neo-Vamdamon, the moonlight. And it's this dark, tall, gangly, blonde-haired creature with eyes on the chest. Gee, who does that remind you of? And Koichi has the darkness spirit, both corrupted and purified. And the moon comes out when it's dark. And in addition to that, Koichi is the brother of Koji, who is the light spirit. And moonlight is kind of the inverse to sunlight. There's light going on, there's light and darkness in parallel play here. Dorbikmon is the fire elemental, the fire fury, and I have seen people suggest it as an Agunimon evolution before, and yeah, I think it really works, especially like a burning Greymon mega. I think it works really well, or like a compromise of the human and beast spirits. Splashmon, as we've discussed, water, it has darkness mode, though I do wonder if the drippings almost make it kind of combine its emblem being the droplet into also being partially inspired by like liquid metal and Mercurymon, perhaps. Zamielmon is wood, but again, he feels specifically like a merging of two ideals, but at the very bare minimum, as he is the wood element, his emblem is the tree. Arbamon and Patron work great. Olegmon is a weird one. His element is gold, but he to me feels like a merging of two elements. The gold, you could say, is the spirit of steel, right? I've always kind of felt like the spirit of steel is more like the spirit of metal. Steel's just the one they went for, perhaps due to alchemy and things like that. So while Olegmon is very golden and metallic, it also, resembles Grottemon, Gigasmon, the whole like Viking, dwarves, mining, goblins, gnomes, things like that. Gravimon is the one that doesn't quite line up to me. Gravimon's element is earth, and that is because, you know, it's gravity, it drags things to the earth. I think visually it looks the most like it could be related to the spirit of darkness though, and it's kind of the one that makes the theory fall apart slightly. However, not only is its element earth, it also rules over Canyonland, and yeah, that looks kind of like the place where Grottemon and Gigasmon might hang out if we saw them in Xros Wars. And finally is Apollomon. Now, Apollomon does get whispered mode, a corrupted dark form, which you could say is analogous to Koichi. The light of the sun is good, the light of the whispered is bad, right? The purified darkness spirit, the corrupted darkness spirit. However, I think in my mind, Apollomon kind of works in the same way Neo-Vamdamon does. Neo-Vamdamon to me feels primarily like a Koichi reference, but the moonlight ties in into Koji's Spirit of Light. The inverse is true of Apollomon. Apollomon is a lion. It's in an evolution line of lions, of Pheramon, even little Coronamon. And as I've discussed, Koichi is basically the Leomon of his seasons. There's a lot of similarity there. But let's not forget that Koji's line of light is all based on wolves, and wolves, lions, well, not the same species. They're a very similar bestial concept. So if this theory has any weight to it, which it probably doesn't, let's acknowledge that. Apollomon and Neovamdamon are kind of two halves of the same coin, the sun and the moon, the light and the dark, Koji and Koichi. So we're talking about these links, right? There are visual connections, there are elemental connections. However, I'm always going to debunk my own theories too. We are very clearly missing elements or spirits from Digimon Frontier. There's no wind here, there's no lightning, there's no ice. Those elements 100% are missing. However, looking at a lot of these generals, they did put them on the Frontier dim cards. Olegmon is one of the megas you can get in the Chakmon half of its dim card. And yeah, when you look at Daipenmon, who has a blue popsicle and a red/pink popsicle, and Kurikakumon, who has two axes, combine those two principles and you have Olegmon. Combine that with the Spirit of Steel and you have got a full-on match. Unfortunately, this does fall apart a little bit because Tommy ends up the wood spirits in addition to his ice spirits, but I still think that connection, why would Bandai Namco make it if they hadn't noticed it? There's two thoughts, right? Either when the Death Generals were being created, they were created as somewhat of an homage to the Digimon Frontier spirits, or this whole thing is an accident, but whether it's my silly little videos, it wasn't, or just someone at Bandai Creative noticing it, this connection between the Death Generals and the Frontier spirits has been acknowledged in official stuff. Splashmon is on Ranamon's dim card. Now, Splashmon Darkness mode isn't, which feels like a bit of a misstep to me. Sirenmon was put on there instead, when I feel like Splashmon Darkness mode definitely could have been on this dim card. Zamielmon is on the Wind and Wood Spirit dim, on the Wood Spirit side, which again makes sense. Zamielmon is the Death General of Wood. And now listen, things being on a dim card is not necessarily indicative of a permanent lore connection, right? There's tons of dim cards that just have crazy little outlier evolutions. But the more time goes on, the more times that we have things like the Frontier dim cards, the more the franchise explores stuff outside of Frontier using Frontier elements, the more I'm starting to think that this was intentional. Too much stuff lines up. Now, what I am not saying is, oh, the Death Generals were abandoned concepts for Spirit Digimon. No, very unlikely. I mean, 1% chance? What I am saying is when you analyze all these elements, Neovamdamon's similarity to Duskmon, Dorbikmon being a draconic fire Digimon, Splashmon having its human and beast forms, Zamielmon's incredible similarity to Grottemon and the Wood Spirits, Olegmon, I mean, those axe colors, and Daipenmon and Korikakumon, that's crazy. Gravimon, well, you know, Canyonland, and Apollomon having whispered mode, being connected to the sun and light, wolves and lions, and all this crossing over. I feel like it was intentional from the get-go that they were an homage to the spirits. And Digimon loves to be self-referential. These don't have to be intense lore connections, but more so just franchise nods. Tamers makes nods to adventure, and Digimon as a concept being a franchise in that world. Frontier, while more downplayed, is still an adventure homage. Ancient Greymon, Kaiser Greymon, all of the spirits having a somewhat lineup to the adventure archetypes. It would make sense to me that Xros Wars would also homage a season like itself that had unconventional Digivolution. And okay, that connection wasn't made in Xros Wars, it was only made really in the dim cards. But who's to say in new media if they make a Frontier reboot, or a new Frontier manga reboot, or anything, or just my silly little videos? And that also gives us some cool things to explore, some thought processes we might not have considered before. Like I say, we have Death Generals of Moon, Fire, Water, Wood, Gold, Earth, and Sun, aka in my interpretation, Darkness, Fire, Water, Wood, Steel, Earth, and Light. So there's still room for Death Generals that reference the thunder, wind, ice, spirits. And if the Death Generals are supposed to be a merging of ideas, if Zamielmon is wood and earth, if Olegmon is ice and steel, then yeah, there could be a Death General that fuses wind and thunder, or ice and thunder. Thunder Snow Death General. Let's make it happen. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I love just ranting about silly little theories, and I love expanding on stuff that I've talked about in shorts before, or just had like tweets about or whatever. I think this is a really fun concept, and again, when you look at the Death Generals, you compare them to the spirits, there is a lot going on. Even Splashmon's official art feels very similar to the way that, for example, Kazemon is drawn. Right down to the little circles on the feet, that's just such an incredibly similar look. And yeah, it's most likely just because it's the same artist. The same artist doesn't draw Digimon in the same way. This felt purposeful. Let me know your thoughts on this theory. Again, I'm trying to debunk it and provide evidence for it, and and I'm not saying that it's like some grand conspiracy that this is cut content from Frontier. Let me know your thoughts. Also, if you've got a Digimon theory, a Digimon conspiracy that you'd like me to take a look at, leave it in the comments down below or email it to me, karnexcontact@gmail.com. If you've got a really cool Digimon theory, one that you've not seen anyone talk about before, I'd love to do a video where I just kind of like react to your Digimon theories. And don't worry, the Digimon art reaction thing is coming at some point soon. Busy, sponsors, etc. Speaking of sponsors, thank you to today's sponsor, Buyee. Make sure you're using my link in the description down below to get yourself that 10% off coupon. I know I talk about it a lot. Buyee sponsors 2 videos a month though, and it does mean the absolute world to me. Really keeps this channel going, especially getting custom art and stuff together while we're trying to get the Patreon launched and stuff and try and get more Artbringer Patreon. Buyee is invaluable. You can use them to check out like Mercari, Yahoo Japan Auctions and Shopping, Rakuten, a bunch of other sites they support. And if you're looking for Digimon Frontier stuff, it's really easy to find on Buyee. Just plug Digimon Frontier into Buyee, search, add it to your cart, they'll ship it to a private warehouse, and from there you can choose how you get it delivered to you. If you want it delivered really fast, if you don't mind waiting a little bit, there's tons of delivery options. And also make sure you're using the Add to Buyee extension. Let you shop directly on places like Amazon JP, but check out with Buyee savings like my 10% coupon or all the various coupons Buyee offers throughout the year. Thanks to Buyee for sponsoring this video. Thanks to my Patreon sovereign, Digimon. You are absolutely killing it. Thank you to everyone else who is supporting me over on patreon.com/Karn EX. Your names are on screen right now. Wow, look at how cool you guys are. And shout out to my YouTube sovereign, ZDK14, and everyone else who's a channel member over here. I still appreciate you channel members on YouTube so much. I am trying to transition to Patreon, as I've said, but YouTube channel memberships will remain available. I'm just gonna try and pare them down a little bit, so I do appreciate you. Look at all your lovely names. It's either over here or over here. I forget which side. Probably there, isn't it? All right, thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye-bye.